Hello and welcome to Know Exactly Where. Today we're going to review the update of the April release, or actually all the April releases that we have been doing during the month, with all the functionality that has been put into production this month. You have the channel that you have two different videos where we went through the team management functionality, and that you can review. Today we're actually going to show it again, but maybe in a shortened way. You have more information, more in depth, but we're going to be for sure showing what we have been doing this month regarding the teams management functionality. So okay, so here we are on a Friday. So today instead of Thursday, we have you on a Friday. Everything that I'm going to show today, as usual, is already in the live version, in the production version. So you can see the demo directly from the production environment. So we get started here defining or explaining what has been changed or what we have added, so that later we can demo it. We have added a Gantt view on the calendar screen. So the Gantt view is a new way, which is to view the information based based on the different sections, on the different phases of the project, and then on the task level. We also have the included the choice for the user to move the top bar to a sidebar if that's more of an interest of a user. And then we have the bigger functionality of this month is the team management that I'm going to show in two parts. First, we're going to go through the team roles, why it's useful to have teams and why it's useful to have team roles. And then we're going to go to the workload view of the team, which is the second part of the functionality we're going to show. And finally, we're going to have the presentation of the checklists. We're now able to create checklists for the tasks of the project. Sometimes there's extra tasks, or there's a list of things we want to check for every task that we don't want to track time for. So we will not create them as separated tasks. We'd rather just list them and then be able to check them off or not, but not necessarily tie them to a timeline and tie them to the dependencies of the timeline for other cases. So it's a simpler way to have a list of things that need to be done on a certain step without needing to go into the detail of, okay, how long this takes or it doesn't take, etc. And finally, we'll just see that the go live is a very small functionality. The go live date flag in the calendar view. You remember from last time that we included actually the March update. We included the go live. That was something that we could define, and then we could create calendars based on the go live. So now we have just included the flag in the calendar view. So let's just get started. So I have the application here ready to go somewhere. Yep, here it is. Okay, so here we are. We're just going to log on. Okay, I'm logging on. Very good. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a project template that we'll be using later on as well. So let me just create a template out of the blue. Okay. I'm going to create a very simple one without much logic today. It's going to be task one. Actually, I'm going to use the multiple task creation a bit faster. Okay, so this is going to be that simple today. We're just creating some tasks. We're going to create some predecessors for those tasks. Let's say that each one depends on the previous one. We're going to create some roles. Let's say the project manager, one of the roles. Let's say the consultant is another role. And let's say that the client is another role. It's going to give it a different color. And we're going to be assigning some of these tasks to some of these members. The first one is also done by the client, this one as well, and this one, these three. And last but not least, we're going to give durations to these tasks. So let's say they're going to take 3 days, 5 days, 5 days, 3 days, 1 day, and 2 days. Let's say that's that. So we have the new template, and we're going to create a project based on that template. So I'm going to create it. It's going to be called Gantt View Demo. We just create this right here. So we're not going to stop to update the participants right now because we're not going to be showing the flow of data going through or the tasks that need to start, etc. But we can create the calendar. Everything else is fine for this project because we defined it already in the template. So we create the calendar for this. We're not going to use the go live date filter or actually restriction that you saw. If you want to know more about this go live date, that was released in March. So you see the video of the March updates. You will see that there. So I'm just going to create the normal calendar. And now what you see, so here you have the calendar view. You know this very well. You can click here and you see the detail here. But besides that calendar view and the list view and the role view that you already had available, you now have the Gantt view available, which is very similar to the role view, which is basically you have the whole calendar and then all the tasks that are here and when they're going to happen. So basically, if you had more than one group, right now we only have one group for this project, but you would see all the groups that you would be able to collapse or expand and then see the tasks and see their status. In this case, you would see a thumbs down if the health is not correct, if we're behind schedule. You will see a thumbs up if we are on plan or ahead of schedule, and you will see a check mark if it's completed, if a task is completed. And actually, we're going to do that. We're going to go to either the list view or the calendar view, which are the two views where we can change statuses. And let's say that this one is completed. The task one is completed by not only the client, but also the project manager. So if I go back to the Gantt view, you're going to see that this is now completed. So this task one is fully completed, and you'll see the check about this task. So that's the Gantt view. It is not totally a Gantt chart where you can play around with the dates. It's more of a view of data. It's another way to organize information on the screen. So that's the first thing I wanted to show you. Let's go to the second point. That's going to be a very fast one. Is basically the choice between the top menu and the sidebar menu. So you're going to see here there is a little handle on top next to the upgrade option. I think you can see it. I'm moving my mouse over it. So this means that it's going to be moved. Actually, there's a little help tooltip here. If you hover over it, you can see that if you press this button, this is going to be coming from the top to the side. So actually, I'm going to press it. And here it is. So the whole screen, the whole real estate of the whole screen is now yours. And if you move your mouse to the left, you will see the side menu appear. So basically, we're moving the top menu to the side. And here you have the different options in the same manner you would have them on the top. You can actually click this button here, which is to pin the taskbar. And then everything comes to view. And you can then navigate to the different screens. Here we go to the project screen. And you are able to do that. Depending on how much space you have, usually if you have a bigger screen, this will work better. And a smaller laptop screen, you would prefer probably to have the top menu. But still, this is an option that you now have to use. If you want to move it back here on the very bottom, on the left-hand side, you see move menu to top, and that's what it will do. And just one little more thing. If I don't pin it, you see here a little arrow on the top left as well. There's this little arrow. If you go to it, it says menu. And then if you press it, it just opens it in the same way as if you just move your mouse all the way to the left. So that would be the same effect. Okay, so I'm going to bring it back to the top. I'm more used to it, but I will get used to both, I guess. All right, so that's the second point I wanted to show. So here, that's the second point I wanted to show, which was this top menu and sidebar menu. And now we get to the main functionality. By the way, as always, please leave your comments. We can read them at the end of the session, and we can answer any questions. The bigger functionality that we have today is the team roles and the team workload. So basically team management. And we're going to start showing it here. So basically now we are able to create teams, which is not only the project teams, but rather teams of different members that participate in different projects. So not necessarily just a project team, but some people who are going to be working in several projects that we're going to be creating. So we start by creating a team. We're going to call it implementation. I think this is the same name let's say that this is the implementation team, and that's it. So the only creating it, we already go to this little dashboard here about the implementation team, and the first thing we see is that the team has no members. So obviously, for this to be of any use, you need to create the members first. It's pretty obvious. So I'm going to create the members. I'm going to add member here, and I'm going to call this member Edward, let's say, and they're going to be the project manager. They're going to be user demo Q1, which is one of the users I usually use in these demos. So I'm going to add this member, and adding the member hasn't actually invited the member into the team. So I need to purposefully create this invite member button. So I press it, and now Edward has received an email requesting him to be part of this team and to accept the invitation. If he doesn't accept the invitation, nothing. This member will not be. It will be pretty much ignored outside of the team management. So if this will be used by something else, some other feature outside, it's as if this member was never part of this team. And that's on purpose because everything needs to the ownership of what team Edward belongs to Edward, basically. So if I go to the actual email of this person, I can pull it up here. I pull it up. So this is the email of demo Q1. And here you see the type of email that person would receive. Team implementation invited you. And here it's telling you, you have been identified as Edward for this team. And the invite was sent by this person. In this case, I am the same one creating that. The same user is creating the invitation. And then I can say, yes, I'm a participant or I'm part of this team. And then a successfully accepted message will appear. So this person, now if we refresh the screen, this invitation accepted little cross will basically become green. So that's what happened. And we're going to get another person here. Let's say that, I don't know, Jennifer is her name, and she's going to be demo Q2. Say that those are my team members. I will add them once, and they will accept their invitation once as well. And I'm going to add also Marilyn here. And let's say that is demo Q3. All right. So those are my three members. I haven't invited them yet, so they haven't received any email or any invitation. I'm going to do it just now. So I just invited them both. And down here, I also have their inboxes open, and we can very quickly go to them. And if I go here, this one here, I can go open it and say, Marilyn, you have been identified as a participant of, well, actually as a member of team implementation. She's saying yes, and let me hide that and bring up the other one. Last but not least, the Jennifer one. So finally, we got Jennifer there. You have been identified, yes or no? She says yes. Successfully accepted. Therefore, if I go back to the team and I refresh the page, everybody has accepted. So now invitation accepted by everybody. So that's good. So if I click done, these are my three team members for now. Let's imagine you had a team of 12 people. That would be a little more work for you to fill it in and for them to accept. But everything is correct. So you now have all the team members are fine. So the first part where having teams is interesting is basically to be able to create roles, like what we call team roles, that you're going to be able to assign to the different projects in a faster way than when you have to create them manually. So basically that's one of the reasons why having teams is useful. So we're going to create some roles here. You can assign roles. The only message, everything is fine. I mean, you don't need to have roles. So everything's fine, but the system is telling you the team has no roles. So for you to know that they actually have no roles. So we're going to create the project manager role here. Excuse me, 1 second. So the project manager role there, let's give it a color. We're going to create another internal role here. You would usually create internal roles, the consultant. I'm giving different colors than I did before. And here I'm going to create also in purple, I'm going to create the HR team Okay, just creating these 3 roles. And not only do I create them, you saw that the way we create is exactly the same as the way we create roles for projects or project templates. We have the same options. We can edit or we can delete, and we can also assign them. But now this time we're assigning them to actual team members instead of assigning them to tasks as we used to do, or we tend to do in projects. Here we assign them to actual team members. So let's say that Edward, the one I'm connected with, is the project manager, and then Jennifer can either be a project manager sometimes or a consultant, and let's say Marilyn can be have here. Marilyn can be the HR team and the project manager and the consultant. Why not? Okay, so let's say that those are the team members assigning the roles, and here we have them. So these three members, now they have roles assigned. And the good news about having roles assigned, these team members are now part of the team. So either one of them, if they were to create a project template or a project, because they belong to the team and because they have accepted the invitation, they are now able to see these roles within their project. So for example, if I go back, I'm going to use the first project I created, actually the project template that I created, the demo template. I'm going to go in and I'm going to modify it. Basically, I want to show you that now, because I belong to a team like demo Q1, the user I'm connected with who's Edward in this example, belongs to a team. Now, not only do I see these roles that I created previously, like the ones manually created, but I see this add role from team button. So I can actually click here and I will see the implementation team I belong to. And if I click, I have all the roles here that could be created just by clicking. So if I do that, you can see I can add these very easily. I can add these roles. So let's say that actually I'm going to remove the project manager and consultant that we created originally, and I'm going to add the project manager and consultant that come from the team. And I will show you why this is a better option or a better decision. But first, let me just put project manager, whatever we used to have project manager, and put consultant, whatever we used to have consultant. And let me delete the original project manager manually created one and the consultant manually created one. Let's leave the client as the other one, and no one is the HR team for now. Or let's say that the HR team also participates into one of these tasks, let's say, so that everybody has something to do. Okay, so we have, as you can see, except for the client now, the 3 other roles have come from the team. Besides saving you time creating the roles, which saves you a little time, well, not too much, but saves you some time. The good part is that now, because they come from a team and the system knows that, they're going to make your life easier when you are going to define the participants of the project. So I'll show you just now what I mean by that. So I press OK. And now if we go to we're not going to create a new project based on the template, but if we go back to the Gantt View demo project that we had created previously, if I go to the definition again, sorry, not to the actual definition, but to the main dashboard, here in the update participants option, I can press here, and there's a project manager, a consultant, and a client. So here, what we're going to do is, actually, you saw that what I did was to define, sorry. This is the project, so these colors are the original ones, because what I changed was the project template, and this project was not touched. Remember that the fact that you change a project template doesn't change your project. So what I'm going to do, actually, I am going to create a new one. So from the demo template, I am going to create a new one. It's going to be called Team Part 1 Demo. And now, yes, it is taking those roles. It is taking the ones that came from the team. So if I update the participants, now I do have the HR team, which I was missing before. And also I have the right color coding that I was missing before. And now what we see here is that the client, the client is the only role that doesn't come from a team. It was manually created. So here, when we go into the email for verification, so that the client confirms that they belong to this project, we see the same thing we used to see. There's nothing new. You just see the box, you put the email, you verify email, and this person verifies the email. But for the other ones, because they now have been created from a team, They're not normal roles. Let's say they're team roles. Now the project manager, if I click on the little box, it will display everybody in that team that can play the role of project manager. So in this case, the three of them can play the role of project manager, so I can pick any of them. This is an autocomplete box, so I can actually type something. I can write demo queue 2, and then only the 2 will come, or 3, and then only the 3 will come. Or I can do it by the name. So Jennifer, the J only brings up Jennifer. So if you have a big team with many members, you will see it very easy how to pick from that list by auto completing. The HR team, there was only one person. In this case, Marilyn was the only one who could be HR team, and the consultant, we had two people. So this is why having team roles is interesting, and it's useful. You can later on select this very much quicker, and you cannot go wrong. You know the system's telling you already who can play which role. So that's how this team functionality for this purpose works. Okay, so that would be part one. So if I go back to the presentation, that would be team management, team roles, the first part of team management. Now we're going to go to the second part of team management, which is the team workload. The same idea. So we have a team, we have a project, and the second project we created of the roles from the team, we can actually let me go here. Yes, we are here. And let me go back to the let's say now we're going to start assigning. I said okay, but I shouldn't have. So I'm going to start saying, okay, this is going to be Edward, and this is going to be Marilyn, and this is going to be Jennifer. I'm going to verify those emails. Okay, for the moment, the three people from the team are who I'm interested in, because the client is not going to be part of the team. So the next set of functionality is not going to affect the client. But I just verified those emails, and if everything went well, I have those emails here waiting. Oops, if I find there you are. So here it is, the team part one demo participation as project manager. It's asking, in this case, it's asking the demo Q1 whether it's a project manager. I'm going to say yes. I'm a participant there. Did I say it already? Okay, it's taking its time. So email verification successful. The same is true for this one. So here, if I refresh, I hear the participation as consultant. I will say yes. And the same is true for the third one. I'm going to go back and refresh here. And here I have the notification. The HR team, I'm going to say yes. And that's it. So these three members have accepted. I'm going to hide them again. They just have a very short minute of glory in this presentation. So now if I refresh the page, the three of them have verified. So I have these three users that have verified their participation. So that's fine. And I click OK. Here we are. Actually, I'm going to create the calendar as well for this project. Not, as you can see here, it's orange because not all the participants have accepted. We know the client didn't, so we still have one missing. And I'm going to create the calendar anyway. I can do it. So I'm going to create the calendar starting today. I created it, and we have the calendar right there. Okay, so we have the team members that belong to a team and that belong to pretty much that team, to some of the team roles. And besides the team roles, regardless of the team roles, those members belong to the team and they belong to a project. So now what the second part of the team management, what it allows us to do, or at least the project manager, the owner of the project, what they can do is to share the project with a team. So here there's a new button that you can see under the project. So in the project list, the person who owns the project can share the project, and this is new. So they can press this little people team button, and they will see the teams that they belong to, in this case implementation. And if they press again, they can share them either as viewer, editor, or full control. Today, for the functionality that exists up until now, it doesn't really matter. Only viewer access is enough for the team to see the project. So I'm going to give viewer access. Editor and full control will be something we'll add later on. So if I click here on the viewer, okay, so you see this turned green, a little hint that this project is being shared. So actually, if I click again, you see the implementation team has a check, meaning we are sharing with implementation team. And if we click again, we see that we are sharing the viewer access. I can either check any other option, editor or full control, and then the viewer will disappear, or I can actually revoke the access from the viewer. If I do that, it turns black again. And if I click, there's no check mark because it's no longer shared. So that's how you would share and unshare. And if I click full control, for example, and I do it again, I see full control. If I click viewer, then it just moves from full control to viewer, and that's what it does. So here you can see, if I go back, that's where it is. So viewer is enough for what we need to show, but basically the principle is, if you may remember the overview first live session we've ever had at Q, we talked about the ownership of things. We maintain the principle of ownership. So the owner of the project, who is the one who created it, is the one that has the right to share it with whomever they want and not share whatever they don't want to share. But this time now it is shared, so now we can see what happens when it's shared. So anybody who's part of the team, in this case the team owner is the person who can see the team. So anybody who's part of the team, meaning who's part of the team as a team manager, basically, not the team members, not the team members can see the screen, only the team manager can see the screen. So a team manager can actually come in and enter the team calendar. You can see here the third button is the team calendar, where the team manager can see all the different team members, and they can see all the different, as you can see here, all the different team members and their workload. So basically this color coding is quite ugly, shouldn't be like this. But here you have you see here on top, basically what this is telling us is, okay, we have Edward, Melvin, and Jennifer, and this is how busy they are, how many tasks are happening on each of the days. So this is how busy they are during the month. And the reason that is red is not it's not very promising, but you have the my color coding here on top. And basically the color coding allows you to define for each person when things should turn yellow. So in this case, how many tasks per day the person should be doing that it starts to be a yellow workload, let's say, and how many tasks per day that person can be doing, which becomes a red flag, or a red workload. So let's say that they can do up to, I don't know, 3, and then after more than 6 it starts to be yellow. 3, 6, 3, 6, just for the sake of it. And if I refresh the calendar, all these have become green because actually there's only one task being done by somebody at some point. If let me just change it. If I put 0 here, so or I put 1, from 1 to 6 it becomes yellow. Then all those ones will become yellows. So if I refresh, all those ones become yellow, and then all the zeros stay green. And that's how your color coding will be remembered. So if I go back out of the screen, and another day you come back in, the day view, like the day filter, you will see your color coding has been kept, and you will be able to keep it going forward for the view. So every view, you have the day view, the week view, and the month view. Every view has a different color coding parameter. So you will be defining it for each view, and they will stay. So next time you come in, they will be kept. So you have to define those parameters for each member and each view for your team. So here, if you can also, besides actually seeing this, you can also drill down on the different members. So you can click Edward, you can click team part 1 demo, which is the project name. You can click on their actual role, the role they're playing, and you will see the tasks. So here you can see those tasks up to the task level. So basically it's team member, project, role they were playing on that project, and task level. And the same is true for everybody else. So you can do the same thing. There may be members who play different roles. So you will be able to see that separately here. So that's pretty much what you can see. I think it's a very useful view for you to be able to tell the workload. This is the day view. You can see every day in the calendar. We have the week view, which is the same idea, but you have the week view, and again, the this red. Probably I will change this because it looks a bit ugly when you haven't defined any color coding. But basically, this is what is happening. It's a week view, and we're able to say, okay, if the person has more than four tasks, I don't know, whatever, 6, 10 tasks per week, it will become yellow. If it's more than 20 or more, it will become red. And you can change. Different people can have different numbers here. Here, everybody's is doing okay, so nobody is really red. We only have one project there, so they shouldn't be. But you can see this is working the same way. We can define the color coding, and we can see the calendar view with the weeks in the same way we were seeing them before for every member. And now if we split or we open up, we can open up to the same level. But when we get to the level of task, here we don't get the actual thumbs up or thumbs down. We get the number of tasks that are, or the number of days that they're dedicating to that task on that week, because this goes per week. Basically, it's not knowing exactly the status of a certain date, because it can be more than one day in that week. All right, so that's that. And then finally, the month view is the same idea. Again, there are only 2 months. They're busy right now, but the same idea and the same color coding thing. So you have, let's say that you have 100, more than 100 tasks per month is dangerous, and then more than 200 is very dangerous. Let's say something like that. So you can refresh. And of course, right now everything's green. They don't have enough workload. This team is pretty doing well, so they're not too busy. Okay, so this is the team's functionality. This is the full length of how far we've gotten so far with the teams. You can see the workload. The reason why the color coding is different per person, you might have roles that, I mean, the most granularity, we have a lot of experience with this, and the most granularity, the more options you have, but the more of a hell to maintain it becomes. So we know that when you are defining things at a not fine level, or not the finest grained level, you may be missing, or there are cases where you're corner cases that are out of the utility, so um, you cannot really say I am 100% sure how much time people have left, or how accurate the workload is. We know that the more granular you go, though, the more difficult it is to maintain that perfect that perfect setup, or that perfect spreadsheet that you maintain to keep all the times that people are busy or not busy. It becomes very hard to maintain. Therefore, it becomes not used. Therefore, it becomes, its magic is lost. So here, what we wanted to keep was, okay, more or less, you have a bit of a more of a bulk way of managing the workload, which is, I know the type of profile, I know the average number of things they can do at the same time. It is true that one week will be, maybe the tasks that they have are tasks that take longer, and not the ones that take less, but then another week will compensate, or another day in that week it will compensate. So we're trying to go a little less granular on purpose, so that actually it becomes easy to maintain and easy to see. So here, the shot that you have, besides the ability to go down and drill down to the very last detail, at least the first shot of numbers that you see, and availability, that's easier to get to than if you had to define exactly number of hours, number of tasks that take this many hours, and then how much they are. We know that that might be coming. Who knows if the demand is there, we will build it. But we know that it's such a hell to maintain that it usually doesn't work, because it is too hard to maintain. So here, we kept it this way. All right, so this is the team functionality we are able to show today. And last but not least, well, we have the go live date. I'm gonna push this one in. The go live date flag in the calendar view. You may remember that if we go back, we change gears. If you may remember that when we defined a project, we could define a go live task. Here there was this flag. You will see that in the March update if you want to go back to refer to it, but you will remember this. So let's say that let's create a new task. Actually, let's create task, or let's call it go live. Okay, it doesn't harm. Let's say that it takes one day. let's say that it depends on the previous one. Let's say that the project manager does it, and let's say that it takes 1 day. Okay, now it's getting nervous because I changed the definition and it doesn't. I'm missing days and missing calendar, everything else. So I'm going to say it takes 1 day, and I'm going to create the calendar again. I'm going to leave everything as is. So we'll have one extra day at the end of the project than we used to have, and this one is the go live date. So this one it is, but we have not defined it as a go live date yet. So what I'm going to do is go back to the project definition, which is up here, to the dashboard and the definition, and I'm going to mark it as the go live task. So here you would remember probably that you just click on it, and then it's great. Sorry, it's shaded in green. It means that's a go live task. So that's it. I don't need to do anything else. I just marked it as the go live task. I don't need to recreate the calendar because we didn't really change much regarding the calendar. So that's fine. But if I go to the project calendar, the flag now on that day, we will see, you see this day because it's the go live day. You see the checkered flag and the whole day, let's say outlined in green. That is just indication that that's the go live task. A little visual effect for you to see it more clearly. That's that. And last but not least, the functionality I wanted to present today is the checklist creation and assignment to tasks. So basically, when you're dealing with projects, also the same, everything what we're doing is try to be minimizing or to simplify things. And you know that when you have a project plan that has 300 lines or 400, 500 lines for a project, the 2 or 3 month duration project, that tends to be a lot of dates to maintain. And we understand that there's two things that we normally want to track. So usually in a project you want to track not only the phases, but you want to track like main events, main things happening that I want to have a start date and an end date. But those things, those tasks that I want to manage, or for which I want to manage time, let's say, do not necessarily are are composed of one thing to do. They're usually having many things to do within that task, but I don't want to keep track of every single date of every single step in the task. So that's why we created the checklists, a way for you to define things to do within a task that do not necessarily have a timeline attached to it. So we know somebody has to do something. We will give that person a start date and an end date. But what happens inside that task, which may be 10 steps, we let them manage however they want, but they are able to see what those are. So that's the functionality I want to show now. So basically, we have included these checklists creation both at template level and at project level. If you do it at template level and you create a project, they are inherited by the project. If you change them in the project, they will not be changed in the project template. So the logic is the same we're following every time. So let me go back to the demo template. And now you'll have noticed maybe that here, right in actions, right next to the delete button, there's a little checklist button. So, or a little, yeah, as you can see, little tasks button here. So if I press it, that's where I start defining things that happen in task 1. So you can either call them subtasks, however you want, something that you will not, subtask 2.2, subtask, sorry, not 2.2, it's 1.2. Let me delete that one. 1.2, task 1.3. So you would be defining things to do within this task. So here, task 1, as you can see, now it's a green, it's shaded in green, meaning that task has subtasks or has checklists or checklist items. So that's the one there. Or I can take task 3. Well, it can be anything. Connect to live system. Best changes to team 313. Wait or verify. Changes are made. Whichever steps that task has within, that is interesting to keep track of. So I would create that at a template level right now. So if I go back to the project templates and I create a new project, this is going to be the checklists and demo project. If I go create this project and I go to the definition of the project, I will see that in the tasks, task 1 and this task 3, they do have the checklists already there. The subtasks, I'm going to create subtask 1.4 only for this project, so not necessarily, nothing has changed in the template. So here it is. And well, basically those are my tasks. So when you're defining them, that's when you're creating them or deleting them. That's when you're actually defining that. That's one of the views. And here I can go back either this way. Okay. And this demo project doesn't have the calendar created yet, so I'm going to actually create it. I'm going to say that it starts today as well. It doesn't matter. So now that it's created, not only can so the tasks have been defined and those checklists have been defined, but now in the calendar is where I can track them. So I can actually say here, for example, if I go in, this task 1, you see right next to task 1, there's a little button here that it says, okay, it says checklist button. If I go to another task that doesn't have it, for example, task 2 doesn't have it. We didn't have a checklist for task 2, but task 1 does. So I can actually go back into somewhere and I can use here, I can go in and I see them, and you see here the completed box that we didn't see before, because when we were defining it, we were not really completing it. But now we can complete them. You check them and they are checked, or we uncheck them. It means they are not checked. All right. So it's just a reminder of where we are at. It is not having an impact on the task status. So as of today, the completion status of the subtasks are not assuming that the task status is started or completed, etc. You may have a set of tasks defined that are not the full set of tasks. There might be various reasons why you don't want to necessarily tie the fact that you have a to-do list in a certain task than the fact that you want to control your task status separately. I can see I can see both ways or both sides why, if you have started, at least it should be marked as started. But today it's not linked. As of today, it's not linked. But here you see task 1 is here, and we have marked this status, and that's the one of the views. So the calendar view is one of them. But you can also see that in the Gantt view, when you, for example, open this up, you can see again task 1 and task 3. They do have the same thing. So subtasks 1, 2, and 3 were done. We keep them done. I mean, nothing has. It's not that they're separate screens and there are different lists. It's the same list seen from two places. The same is true in the role view. So if you go back to the role view and let's check the project manager, task 1, for example, the client has task 1 as well, but let's say somebody who doesn't have task 1, HR team has nothing to do with task 1, so there's no checklist. And here it is. It's the same thing. It's the same information being laid out or shown in different places. And when you click, it's the same thing happening. And last but not least, the list view as well. So here you have those tasks that do have tasks associated. Here they are. In this checklist, in this list view, you know that one task can appear more than once depending on how many roles are playing that task. But the checklists are not per role. So we don't have a checklist per role. We have a checklist per task. So meaning that, for example, here in task 1, if I press it and I delete, let's say I'm not doing 1.3, I just remove that. If I click task 1 again, even if it's for the other role, it's the same set of tasks. And in this case, 1.3 is not done. And if I click it as done, it's not related to the person, it's related to the task. So if I go back up and I see it's the same. So meaning that these two buttons actually are going into the same subtasks, which is the way it works, and it's the way it's been designed. So those are the 4 views in the calendar, how you can track them, and I showed you how you can actually create the checklists, and the checklist items, both in the templates and in the projects. So that concludes. If I go back to here, that concludes our demo today. This is all that has been put into production in April. It's already there. There's a little reminder about the team functionality. If I go to upgrade the team functionality, so you will remember that I think I've mentioned that in the sneak peeks, if you've seen them. The Teams functionality is available for the Pro and Enterprise subscriptions. So by default, you will get the teams option, menu option available when you have any of those two. And I'm going to also add them to the trial version for the until the trial is over. So they're going to also become part of the trial while you have it activated or active, because then you can see how it works and how to share projects, how to create team roles, etc. It's going to be available there as well. So that's all for today. That's all I have for today. Let me check if there's anything in the chat. I don't see anything here in the chat. So I think that's all. Thank you for coming in, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.